We're going to talk about one mean t-test now. So I'm making the assumption that you have gone over z-test and you understand z-test. Because t-test, this section is going to be a little bit smaller because I'm under the assumption again that you've looked at z-test and you understand it. So one-tailed and two-tailed test for means. Again, we've looked at this before, but I want to quickly remind you what it is. So again, the null always has a symbol with the equal sign in it, and the alternative will never have the equal sign in it. Again, a left-tailed and a right-tailed are referred to as one-tailed test. So here again, left-tailed, your alternative is that the mean is less than the population mean, and the null is the mean is greater than or equal to the population mean. For a right-tailed test, the alternative is the mean is greater than the population, and the null is the mean is less than or equal to the population mean. The reason I started with the alternative is that sometimes it might be easier for you to understand it if the question is written as less than or greater than. If these are still throwing you, go back to the last lesson where I talked about it in depth around hypothesis testing. All right. So, one mean t-test requirements. You're going to have to compare sample mean to population mean. If we don't know the population standard deviation, we use a one mean t-test. Excuse me, that's huge. If you don't have that population standard deviation, you use the t-test. You're going to do a simple random sample. The population standard deviation is unknown, so you use the sample standard deviation. It's kind of like this. So think of it if you're playing cards and you know that a king is more than a queen. So kind of think of the population standard deviation as the king and the queen is the sample standard deviation. If you're playing poker and you want the highest cards, you're going to always play that king instead of that queen. So that's kind of what it is. The population standard deviation always trumps the sample standard deviation. The sample size is 30 or greater, or it's normally distributed. And note that if the sample size is sufficiently large, a t-test will even work even if the population is not approximately normally distributed. But we're talking about a large sample size. You're not going to see that in this class. All right, again, what are we doing? We are comparing that sample data and that sample size to that population mean, okay? And that's all we're doing. I didn't put sample mean in there because for these, you're going to have to get the sample mean out of the sample data. And again, from the sample data, we can get sample mean, sample standard deviation. What's most important? So in the last z-test, the z-test statistic was important and the p-value. In this test, the t-test statistic and the p-value are important again.